Well, it has been a quiet week in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, which should come as no surprise. With everyone out of work and businesses suffering from so many people out of work thanks to Trump's nervous shutdown, there ain't a whole lot of stimulus in the economy or the citizens. Everyone's just waiting around, waiting for work, waiting for financial help. But Trump did do something right. I know that may sound like a load of Republican talking points, but I promise you, he really did. Granted, he had no way of knowing that he did, or for that matter, that he would. Had he any warning ahead of time, he surely would have worked hard not to. But even when the dinosaurs were wiped out, somebody benefited. And in this case, the beneficiaries were Sherry Finn and her nephew, Sean. Things haven't been easy for them since Sean's parents, Sherry's sister and her husband, died. Hardly a kind word has passed between the two, even in the recent holiday season. Between Sherry's struggles to keep her business afloat in a negative economy and Sean's struggles with watching porn on his phone, could that be considered a struggle? Sure, why not? It's a kind of Anyway, I guess they've just been too busy for each other. The two lived more like roommates, the kind who had possibly grown distant over some unresolved utility bill. Sherry and Sean didn't live like a family. Sherry was simply too busy. And Sean was, Sean was 13. And even in the best of times, that's a lot to get through. And the worst part was that right now, after back to back really rotten holidays, a Christmas with too few presents, a Thanksgiving dinner served in the back room at a bar, and a New Year's Eve spent in a kind of ghost town, those two needed family more than they needed good news. I wish I could tell you they had a long-lost cousin somewhere, maybe living in the outskirts of Bedford, Indiana. But that would be lying. The only family those two had were each other. And that's where Donald Trump came into play, like some kind of accidental angel. The Buddhists tell us that everyone brings some good to the earth, or if they don't, they really should. And that's good news for someone whose very touch makes you want to throw up in your mouth and immediately swallow it because at least it makes you forget about Trump for a second. I wish there was a way for him to know about the good he brings to people's lives, but no. Because then I'd have to explain it to him, and I don't really need the headache. I really don't. For the purposes of telling you, however, I will say that Sherry wouldn't have even gone to the kitchen had she not already been experiencing what can only generously be called budgeting for her bar, Freedom Fried. Sherry thought of it as saving a sinking ship, trying to haul out whatever she could just to keep it afloat for one more day. You can't run a bar without having booze in the house. Sort of like how doctors always have plenty of drug samples, or like how Brett Kavanaugh always gets letters from AA asking him to come back. And Sherry wasn't a heavy drinker, but after spending an hour on her budget, she figured she could use a belt. And she saw Sean sitting at the kitchen table, his body hunched over a notebook, pen in one hand, head smushed into the palm of the other. She figured he was doing homework and didn't want to disturb him. But after she fished a bottle of Hypnotic and poured some in a highball glass, she heard Sean ask, "Are you drinking?" and she knew she was caught. Not caught the way you were caught sneaking a drink when you're underage, or caught day drinking. It wasn't even noon yet, after all. No, she was caught having to reply to her nephew, who she was supposed to love, who she supported until he ate her out of house and home. But when you got right down to it, he was something of a stranger to her. When Sean was born, Sherry made a crack to her sister that she figured she was off the hook. No having to take her niece shopping or go on play dates. Sherry figured her life could continue as it was. Yeah, she was pretty wrong about that one. She tilted her glass and shrugged at her nephew. Rough day, I guess. Yeah, I know, Sean agreed. Sherry knew she didn't have to engage with him any further. She could have snuck back to her room, binge-watched Friends until she finished that bottle and maybe another. And yet, Sherry left her glass and the bottle on the counter. She turned a chair at her small kitchen table and sat down, leaning forward against the back. "What are you doing?" she asked him. "Working on a thing for school." "What kind of thing?" Now, right here, this may have been their second longest conversation. And they both knew it. Sean lifted his head, an amazing accomplishment for a 13-year-old, and gave Sherry a long, puzzled look. Finally, he answered, "We're supposed to write this thing for our English class. She says it's because we don't have any government class, and we should because of where we live or whatever. So I gotta write this, and I don't know." Sherry knew that Sean was speaking English, but damn, that translation was exhausting. "So you're writing a paper?" she asked. "It's a group thing. We got immigration. So we're supposed to each write a thing and then put it together." "So you have to write on immigration?" Sherry attempted to translate. "But it's like in real life, like right now." And immediately, Sherry understood the problem. She wouldn't want to talk about the state of immigration in America, let alone write about it. "They want me to write about the camps," Sean told her, and clearly this was where he had his biggest problem. Sherry knew what he was talking about. She couldn't imagine anyone not knowing what he was talking about. Still, she said, "The camps?" "You know, the concentration camps." "They're not concentration camps." Sherry's response came so fast she surprised herself. She was even more surprised by her nephew's lightning-fast response, "Yes, they are. I've never heard of them referred to as concentration camps, Sean. They're not concentration camps." "Uh-huh. They separate the families like the Nazis did. They put them in camps like the Nazis did. They even torture people." "They don't torture people, Sean." "Uh-huh. Los Hilarious, whatever they're called." Sherry had heard about this, of course. Deep freeze cells where immigrants held against their will were punished, hurt, tortured. She told him, "Yes, but those things have been used for years, Sean." "That doesn't make it right," he said. "They strip them down, Aunt Sherry. They don't feed them. They make them sick. Kids are dying. People are suffering. The only thing we haven't done is put them in those big ovens where they cremate them." For just a second, Sherry wanted to remind her nephew that they, or we, also haven't gassed any immigrants. Until she remembered that we, have. It might not have been the same gas, but the optics were just as bad. Was it any wonder she wanted to drink? Standing up from the table, Sherry said, "Just be sure to write concentration camp in quotes. Otherwise, your teacher might make you argue your case." And that's it from DC, as with the rest of the world. Until next time, be good to yourself, be kind to others, and let's make this world a better place. This is Ken LaSalle, and I just wanted to thank you for stopping by for this episode of DC Home. For more information about myself and the work I do, I invite you to take a look at my website at kenlasalle.com. You can also find my work on Amazon, Audible, iTunes, and anywhere you find books and audiobooks available online. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube by searching my name, Ken LaSalle. And thank you, as always, for your support.